So in the motivation, I mentioned reflecting on the kindness that we've received from others. And I think this is a very, very important reflection to do, one that sometimes we skip over, but I think it's crucially important. And if we do it regularly, it makes quite a profound change in how we experience life. Because I think ever since Freud, we've developed the habit of, attributing all of our internal problems to our parents or to somebody else. I mean, sentient beings do this naturally anyway, but I think we've really kind of developed a rationale for doing it and a reason for doing it, a justification for doing it. So most of us go through some rebellious years and dismiss everything from our parents and from society, and we go through periods of time where we feel like, we're just little sweet, innocent me, and the world doesn't treat us very properly, and things aren't fair, life isn't fair, other people get these good opportunities, we don't. Do you have those kinds of stories going on in your mind? Sometimes I think that as Western children, or maybe I should just speak American children, some of the first words we learn to say is, "It's not fair." Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, whenever we don't get our way, we complain to our parents, "It's not fair. My brother's got to do it. My sister got to do it. The neighbor gets to do it. You get to do it. Everybody else gets to do it. It's not fair that I don't get to, or that I have to if it's something that we don't want to do." Okay? So from very early on, our way of thinking, our way of conceptualizing our relationship to the world is that we are entitled to happiness. We deserve happiness. Why? Because we're us, and the world is not fair because we don't get everything we want. Do you think you have that kind of way of thinking somewhere inside of you? This sense of entitlement. I am me, therefore I deserve to have whatever I want. And so our slogan in life is, I want what I want when I want it. And we go through life feeling that this is the way life should be. I want what I want when I want it, and I should get it. And life owes it to me without me having to do anything. Mm-hmm. And so with this kind of subconscious conceptualization about life, then it appears as if everything is not fair and we get the raw end of the deal and other people have more opportunities and better conditions than us, and that we're missing out and we are the subject of other people's neglect and unkindness and abuse and so on. And sometimes we even develop identities based on all of that. Okay? So I'm not negating the fact that sometimes abuse and neglect occur within families, but we also have a choice of how we relate to things. And we can create an identity out of it and cling on to it and reify it and make it me, or we can let it go. And it's our choice. because nobody else is forcing us to believe certain things. But as long as we hold on underneath to this very self-centered view of I'm the most important one in the world, and I should have everything I want, and people should do what I want and be what I want, and I'm entitled to it, and I shouldn't have to do anything. As long as we hold that kind of view, we're setting ourselves up for a lot of misery in life. Okay? So the problem isn't that we don't get everything we want. The problem is that we crave to have everything we want, and we think we deserve it. Okay? We usually think the problem is that we can't get what we want. But that doesn't have to be a problem. Yeah, not getting what we want doesn't have to be a problem. It's our mind that makes it into a problem. Why does our mind make it into the problem? Because we have this view that I should have everything I want. And that is the rule of the universe, unnegotiable. First rule of the universe is I should have everything I want. And that view, which is an internal conceptualization that is coming from the core of our self-centered mind, that is a total setup for misery. Yeah? As long as we hold that view, we are putting ourselves in a position of experiencing misery. If we release that view, then we have the opportunity to be happy and peaceful. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Because most of our life we really think that the world is unfair to us. And we have a litany of complaints of all the injustices that we've experienced in our life. Even though we come from incredibly wealthy countries, most of us, we come to India and we complain, don't we? Yeah? We practice, Buddhism, they teach about the 6 perfections. We have some others, we have the perfection of shopping and the perfection of complaining and the perfection of feeling sorry for ourselves. Okay? So we have a few other perfections that the Buddha didn't teach that we practice very diligently. Okay? So this self-centered view that I should have everything I want, sets us up for complaining, so that no matter how much we have and what situation we're in, it's not good enough. So we don't wake up every morning saying, wow, I'm so fortunate I had food to eat yesterday, unlike many people in many parts of the world. We don't wake up with that kind of appreciation. We wake up with some kind of complaint, like the food I ate wasn't good enough. Yeah? Or we don't think, wow, I have a place to sleep in. How fortunate I am. We think the bed's too hard, the bed's too soft. Right? Yeah, so this attitude, this self-centered attitude, just sets us up in this way for constant dissatisfaction. And that's why I said that the meditation on the kindness of others is so important, because when we do this meditation very consistently, what we begin to see is that we've been the recipient of a tremendous amount of kindness in our life, and that we're actually quite fortunate, and that we have opportunities that are unbelievable and amazing compared to the opportunities of other people. And when we see this, then our whole take on life changes. Yeah, and we abandon the perfection of complaining because we see that compared to the opportunities we have and the kindness we've received, the complaints are actually rather minor. So how do we do this meditation on the kindness of others? It's actually quite simple. You just take any simple object, okay? The cup. So, yeah, we all drink out of cups or glasses every day, don't we? We just take it for granted. Oh, there's a cup, you know. Oh, there's something in it. Oh, I'm going to drink. No big deal. Water's too cold, water's too hot. Instead of water, I want this, I want that. Cup's cracked. I don't like the design on the cup. You know, we can get into that whole thing. But if you're meditating on the kindness you've received, you look at the cup and you say, where did this cup come from? Okay, so somebody at Tushita, you know, went down to the market and got it. And where did the people in the market get it from? Well, it came from some factory somewhere, and somebody else drove it here. Somebody else packed it in the factory and then loaded it on the truck and drove it here. In the factory, somebody made it. Not somebody, somebodies, many people made it. And where did the material come from to make it? Does anybody know where you get ceramic? Somebody know? Come on, somebody must know more than me. Well, okay, it came from somewhere. Somebody made the ceramic, didn't they? I don't know. Maybe it has some kind of special earth in it. Nobody knows how ceramics. I thought I was the only dumb one. Anyway, you know, I mean, look how little we know about the source of something we use and take for granted. So how many people, I think there's some echo here, how many people were involved in making the ceramic? And then even discovering how to make ceramic and designing the cup and spending hours, you know, doing this little design. And then I don't know how they stencil designs and put designs on many cups. I have no idea how they do this. But, you know, somebody created the design and made it and put it on the cup and got the color for the, you know, for the design. That must have come from somewhere, earth. You know, you make paint out of earth, don't you? Some kind of elements or minerals or something. I'm really pretty ignorant. But, you know, you look at it and, wow, what an incredible number of people were involved in making this cup. Because, I mean, not only the ceramic and everything, and the design and the paint and so on, but the people who run the factory, no? And the factory certainly required electricity to make this cup. So where did the electricity come from? Yeah, either came from somebody building a dam and setting up electricity from power, or somebody burning coal, which necessitated miners who were risking their life, you know, getting the coal out of the earth. And then, of course, there was the truck that carried the cup up to McLeod Ganj. And how did that truck come about? All the people who made the truck, all the people who designed the truck, and where did the rubber of the tires come from, and the metal of the engine, and the, you know, fabric on the seats, and all the people who designed the truck. And it runs on petrol, so where did the petrol come from, and all the people involved in getting the petrol out of the earth and transforming refining the petrol and building the pipeline. And when you start really looking at this cup and how many sentient beings were involved in my having a cup to drink, it's really rather astounding, isn't it? You know, that this cup just didn't appear miraculously on its own, under its own power, as an object that me, who is the center of the universe, can just use and take for granted. But actually, it is the sum total of an incredible amount of effort and time and hard work on the part of many, many, many sentient beings. And if I train my mind to every time I see this cup, I think of all those sentient beings who were involved in my having a cup to use, then it becomes really kind of amazing, this feeling of gratitude that arises in our mind for all those people who work so hard so that I can have one simple cup. And then if we start thinking of all the different things we use during the day, okay, what about the cushion? Where did that come from? Yeah, who grew the cotton or the linen that made the cushion covers? And what's inside of them? Coconut husks coconut husks. So who planted the coconut trees? And who cut down the coconuts? And who took the husks off the coconuts and flattened the husks and sewed the cushion? And again, transported the cushions. So we have all the people who run the trucks. And then we have the people who made the roads. Now, and think about making roads in India. Yeah, do you want to apply for road work? Do you want that to be your career? Yeah, do you want to stand out in the hot sun or in the monsoon rains with, one of those flat trays of asphalt that makes you gag because it smells so bad, and then mixing gravel and dirt and breathing all of that and smearing it out on the road, trying not to fall over the side of the road yourself as you're making it, and meanwhile cars are driving by and the people in the cars are saying, "Get out of my way, why don't you make this road at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm not driving on it?" Do we ever, when we pass the road workers, say thank you so much? Yeah. When the garbage collectors come, do we ever say thank you so much? Yeah. We say, "Why didn't you come yesterday?" Yeah. Or why, when you emptied my garbage, you also spilled some? But if we look around us, how many beings are involved in just the simplest things that we have and use every day? Now, it becomes monumental because we see we're connected with so many sentient beings everywhere. And that we've received benefit from each and every one of them. And so we've received kindness from each and every one of them. Now somebody's going to say, "But they didn't intend to help me, so how can you say that's kindness? They're just doing it because they have a job and they want the money, so they're selfish. They're not doing it because they want to be kind to me." Right? That's what we're going to say. But the bottom line is, if they didn't do what they did, we wouldn't have the things that we use. It doesn't matter whether they knew who we were personally. It doesn't matter whether they thought of us and wanted to benefit us. It doesn't matter whether they got paid or not. The bottom line is, if they didn't do what they did and sacrifice their time and energy and labor, we would not have the things that we use and enjoy. And that's the bottom line. And so thus we've received kindness from them. So if we have this awareness that we've received kindness from so many people in society, and we don't necessarily know who they are. You know, when we walk by somebody on the street, we don't know if they're the people from the public utility board that makes the electricity that we use. We don't know if they were the architect that designed the building, or the person who, you know, got the materials for the asphalt, or the person who made the road. We don't know who all these strangers are around us. So we tend to just dismiss them almost as if they didn't have feelings, you know, and weren't important. But if we become aware of how interdependent we are with others and how much we've received from them, then when we look at each living being, you know, we realize, wow, this is somebody who's been kind to me in one way or another in terms of the work they do in society. Yeah, and I depend on them. And if we see ourselves as having been the recipient of their kindness, then it definitely puts the damper on our wish to swear at them, complain about them, criticize them, and ignore them, doesn't it? Yeah. Because when we, you know, when we receive kindness, we have this feeling of, wow, that's very nice, and I want to repay it. I want to give something back in return. So I can't just ignore all these other people, even if they're supposedly strangers, because actually they aren't. We've been very connected, and I've received benefit from them. And then, if we look at our lives and everything we have, everything we know, yeah, we take these things for granted, you know, especially whatever skills or knowledge we have, we very much take them for granted. Or we think, I have this skill. I am a good musician. I am an artist. I am an intellectual. I am a craftsman. I do this. I do that. You know, as if we had all those skills at the time we popped out of our mother's womb. You know, as if they were self-generated. You know, I'm a good athlete. I'm a good whatever. Yeah. But did we have that knowledge? Did we have those skills when we were born? No. Yeah, when we were born, we didn't know anything. Yeah, we were totally dependent. If we were too hot, we couldn't take the blanket off. If we were too cold, we couldn't put it on. When we were hungry, we couldn't feed ourselves. When we were sick, we couldn't take medicine ourselves. As infants, we were totally helpless and dependent on others. And the fact that we survived until now, that itself is proof of the kindness we've received from others. Because if people weren't kind to us, if people don't take care of a baby, what happens? Baby dies. Yeah, and it doesn't take long because the baby's totally dependent. So the fact that we're alive is proof that we received tremendous kindness from the people who took care of us, beginning with the time we were babies. So somebody woke up and fed us in the middle of the night. If I moved into your flat and cried at 2 o'clock in the morning every night because I wanted you to feed me, what would you do? I don't think you'd like me very much. But if you have a baby, you love that baby, even if you have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and feed it. Don't you? Yeah? So we've been the recipient of so much kindness and so much protection Now, how many things did we do as little kids where we could have killed ourselves very easily? I'm sure we all have little stories about things that we did. Do you have little stories your parents have told you about things, how you almost got killed? Like you were at the top of the stairs and almost fell down the stairs, or you were sitting there with something electric, putting it into the electric socket. Or I had a friend who was playing one Sunday morning, and she wanted to pretend to be cooking, so she made bread out of newspaper and put it in the toaster oven, and it caught fire and nearly burned the place down. You know, somebody put the fire out and got her out. Yeah. So we have incredible stories. Almost choking. How many times when we were infants did we almost choke? Yeah. And people always came and helped us. And the proof is that we're still alive. That's the proof. So we've been the recipient of amazing amount of kindness from the people who took care of us when we were infants. And our ability to speak and understand and use language, we take that so much for granted. But did we have the ability to speak within us at the time we were born? No. All we did is howl. Okay. How did we learn to speak? People sat with us and they went goo, goo, ga, ga. You know? They taught us how to speak. They pointed at things and said bell, flower. You know, and they taught us how to speak. They taught us how to express what was going on inside of us in language so we could communicate with other people. And so many people were involved in teaching us how to use language, how to speak. And yet, do we ever think of those people and say thank you and express our gratitude to them for teaching us how to speak? What about reading and writing? Yeah, we take that pretty much for granted. So many people in this world are illiterate. If you can't read and write, your abilities, your possibilities are really limited. But I think we're all limited. We're all literate to some degree in this room. Yeah? Isn't our literacy the effect of a lot of people working very hard? Yeah, think of all of our teachers that we had since we were little. You know, the ones that taught us how to draw an A and how to draw a B. And instead of a B, when we wrote a D because we were dyslexic, they taught us how to flip it over. And when we got confused between right and left, you know, all these things we got confused. People taught us. Yeah. But how did we relate to our teachers when we were little kids? Yeah. Anybody who's ever been a teacher, I was a teacher before I became a nun. You know, it's one of the least appreciated occupations in the society. And yet, without our teachers, when we were little kids, would we be the effective adults that we are now? Yeah, no. So these skills that we have and use every day, they didn't come out of their own power. They came due to the kindness of others. I really began to be aware of that when, because I never intended to write books, because in my English classes, my papers always came back filled with red ink. You know, it's like, this is spelled wrong, and your grammar's wrong, and there's no topic sentence for this paragraph, and you jump around, and you don't explain things clearly, and, you know, that was my English class. And spelling was horrible. I couldn't spell. So to me, when I found myself put in the situation where I was writing things and they were getting published, I became aware that, any ability I had to do this wasn't my ability. It was the result of other people who taught me over the years. So all those people in grammar school and high school and college and at the publishing company, and all those people who made all those red pens, yeah, I have to say thank you to them, because otherwise I wouldn't have had this ability. Okay? So if we look at, any skill we have, it came because other people took an interest in us and taught us and encouraged us. Yeah? So when we think about this again, we see, wow, I've been the recipient of so much kindness in my life. Now, consistent kindness, all the time we're experiencing kindness. Yeah, we ate today. It's a result of the kindness of others. We're wearing clothes. They're the result of the kindness of others. Everything. Yeah. We sit in this room. Do we know the people who built it? Yeah. The architect, the plumber, the electrician, the people who did the wood floor. And how about the people who gave the donations so that this building could be constructed? Do we think of them and thank them? Or do we just kind of walk in, take our place, and say, I deserve this? Yeah, we have this opportunity because of so many people's donations, so many people's efforts in making it. Yeah, but so often we're totally oblivious. And instead, we go around feeling that life isn't fair to us and that people aren't kind enough to us. Okay? When we really open our eyes and see kindness, then we can identify those thoughts in our mind, those complaining thoughts, those thoughts that feel like we've been the victim of whatever. Then we can really identify those thoughts as being erroneous, as being unrealistic. We can see them for what they are and let them go instead of holding on to them and feeling like the world needs to make it up to us somehow. And instead, everything we have, we really appreciate. Yeah, even the smallest things we appreciate. So it's a tremendous meditation, this one, on reflecting on the kindness of others. Really, if you do it consistently, your whole take on life changes. Guaranteed. Okay, now somebody's going to say, okay, my friends have been kind to me. Strangers, yeah, they've been kind to me. But I've had a lot of people hurt me. And we have a whole list in our mind that we can rattle off like this of people who have hurt us, don't we? Yeah, we are expert record keepers of all the times people have slighted us, the times they've offended us, the times they've hurt our feelings, they've neglected us, they've abused us, they've ignored us, they've betrayed our trust, they didn't value us, they didn't appreciate us, they didn't reciprocate our love and affection. We have a list, so long of all those people. And we remember it all the time. We seldom forget one of these people who have, harmed us. Right? Right? Even you come here to India, halfway around the world, you can remember that person back in your own country who did this, that, but, We can get angry just thinking about them. So then you're going to say to me, well, what about those people? They haven't been kind to me. They've been mean to me. They've treated me unfairly. They've betrayed my trust. I've sobbed and cried because I've been so hurt due to what they've done to me. Right? Yeah? We've all had people betray our trust, right? Anybody here who's never had other people betray their trust? Anybody here who's never been rejected? Anybody here who's never been abandoned? This is the nature of samsara, isn't it? Yet when it happens to us, nobody else has ever experienced this. Nobody can understand how much I hurt, Yeah, if I seem theatrical, it's because I am, it's like my emotions are so strong, Nobody else has ever felt like this. Impossible. Yeah. And yet we open our eyes and all these things that we hold on to as so painful are very common experiences. Yeah. Very common experiences. It's not just us. But we feel like we're the only ones that had them. And we also feel like we've never been the person who's rejected somebody else. We've never been the person who's hurt somebody else's feelings. We've never been the person who's betrayed somebody else's trust. We've never been the person who's never appreciated them or who's abandoned them or rejected them or been ungrateful, right? Yeah? Everybody from our own side. We all feel like people have been that way to us, but none of us feel that we've been that way to other people. Very interesting, isn't it? Yeah? Who are these people who go around hurting other people's feelings? Because it's none of us, is it? Yeah, we would never do something like that. They do it to us. So who, But if we sit and think about it, do you think maybe you've been inconsiderate sometime or another and hurt somebody else's feelings? Just maybe? Yeah. If we think about it, yeah, you think we have sometime or another? You think sometime or another maybe we've been a little bit ungrateful? Yeah, or a little bit unappreciative, or a little bit cruel. Yeah, when we get honest with ourselves, it's like we've done this. And again, we don't use that as a reason to beat up on ourselves. Okay? I am not teaching you to feel guilty. Okay, repeat. Yeah, for some of you who don't hear so well. Because I've had people come up to me after I give a talk and they say, you said da-da-da-da-da. And I'm saying, really? I don't remember saying that. Okay, I am not telling you to feel guilty. Guilt is a distorted emotion. It is not something to be cultivated. Okay, repeat. Guilt is a distorted emotion. It is not something to be cultivated. It's something to be abandoned. So how then should we relate when we see that we've also been on the side of being unappreciative, betraying trust, and so on? We own it. Yeah. We acknowledge it. We make a determination not to do it again. And we go on. Okay, we have regret, and regret and guilt are two different things. We have regret. We generate a positive attitude towards the person we hurt. We make a determination not to do it again. And then we put our energy and effort into acting in a different way in the future. Okay, and that way we really change. Okay, if we sit and feel guilty about it, then we're just doing our same old self-centered trip. Yeah? Here, look at me. Guilt is self-centered? I thought when I felt guilty, I was atoning for how awful I'd been. Feeling guilty, beating up on ourselves, that doesn't atone for the harm we've done in the world. It's just a self-centered trip. Because who's the star of the show when we feel guilty? Who are we thinking about when we feel guilty? I'm so bad, I'm so terrible, nobody else has ever been as bad as I am. Look what I've done, nobody can forgive me. Of course they can't forgive me, I'm corrupted, they don't want to speak to me again. They're gonna reject me because the way I acted, I made everything go wrong, I destroyed the whole relationship. It's pretty self-centered, don't you think? All about me. If I can't be the best one, well, I'm going to be the worst one. Yeah. But I'm going to be special. Yeah. I'm going to be the especially worst one in the world. Yeah. Because I can't do anything right. And I'm so important, I can make everything go wrong. Isn't that self-importance? I'm the only one. I'm the one that botched up the whole thing. Yeah, I'm so important, I can make everything go wrong. It's just our self-centered rubbish all over again. Yeah, but we just have to see this stuff, recognize it, regret it, generate a different kind of positive feeling for whoever we harmed, make a determination to act differently in the future, and do that. Yeah?